people just want to feel heard. They just want somebody to hear them and understand them. Like the root of all conflict is lack of understanding. Just being able to be myself and like love seeing and hearing people and just like wanting to celebrate that, it just keeps me going, like yeah, there's nothing better than that. And like bearing witness to everybody's transformation, because we're all transforming all the time, right? And so like being able to witness that is like such a joy for me, even when it's hard, even when it's ugly. I love witnessing that and I love holding space for it. So it just keeps me going. Who are you? What do you do? I love always getting asked this question, right? Because it's like, hi, I'm Angelica, I'm a yoga teacher. But it's like, I view myself as somebody that has been brought to this world to help people feel better from a variety of modalities. I primarily connect through the body, right? I teach yoga, I practice yoga every day. I've been a dancer my whole life. So movement is a huge part of my own healing and feeling whole and feeling seen. I think as I've gone on my life path, I've found that like my purpose truly is to utilize the yoga system to just help people be the best versions of themselves. So I would say in that vein, I'm a teacher, I'm a healer, I am an energy worker, I am a therapist, I am a creator, I'm a space holder, I'm a joy provider. So a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, I'm just me. I'm just me trying to live out my purpose. And I feel like I really do that through the yogic path. And then what do I do? I'm Angelica, I teach yoga. I teach yoga. I am a therapist, about to become a yoga therapist, which I'm very, very excited about. I do a lot of energy work, and I hold space for a lot of people. I've been in many leadership roles in many different jobs that I've had over the years, and now that my partner and I own our yoga schools together, I feel like it's at a point where I feel I have the tools to really help build a bigger community that can align with this yogic path that I believe in so much, that I believe really heals people. So that's what I do. I bring people together so we can follow that path and that lifestyle and just be better humans. Talk to me about your love for yoga. How has it changed you? Has it changed the way you live off the mat? Oh, like 2000%. I've always been connected to movement. When I was 5, I was a really shy kid, and my mother was trying to find something for me to go to socialize and just like get out there and not be this like, little mouse in the house. And she took me to my first dance class when I was 5 years old, and I walked in the studio and I just ran in and I was like, bye mom. And I just loved it. It's just immediately, I was like, I love to move. And I think, there's something really beautiful about using movement, which is so nonverbal, to communicate. And I've always communicated more through somatic means. So I think yoga, though, like I still dance. I shouldn't say I used to. I still dance. I refuse to retire. But my peak dancing years lasted through probably about 6 or 7 years after college. I was with a company in Baltimore. Shout out to Full Circle, turning 25 this year. I'm so honored to have been part of that bubble for as long as I was. Dance always was a beautiful way to just to express myself, and it will always be a way to express myself. When I found yoga, which was somewhat forced because I had a professor in college that was like, you're going to cross train and this is what you're going to do. And you're going to go into this sweaty hot box and it's going to suck and you're not going to be able to drink water. It's going to be really hard. And I'm just like, why are we doing this? This sounds horrible. But went to the first class and I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Like that was a really good sweat. And like, I kind of see like the parallel and how this could be helpful. And yoga just started filling in some gaps for me that I didn't even know were there. It not only gave me space to express myself, but it gave me space to find myself. It gave me a way to really come back to my center and who I was and what my purpose was. It forced me to, as a performer, and I love performing, everything's outward, right? You're like sharing with an audience, you're sharing with a group that's looking back at you. And it's interesting because yoga, you're looking at a mirror or not, right? But yet you're looking back at yourself all the time. I'm like getting chills as I say this. And so for whatever reason, like yoga just started to help me go right back inward and truly just figure out who I was. And I think it's just been like beautiful, like blossoming process since then. So in terms of like how it's changed me, it's opened my inner eye, my intuitive eye. It's opened my ability to see beyond what's in front of me. Like I feel like I'm able to see people on a deeper level now, which is I think part of why I've been called to the work that I have and why I'm good at my job. Like I love everything I do and I love empowering people. And yoga has given me the tools to do that within myself so that I can offer that to other people. So in that sense, it's changed my whole perspective on how I operate. And it's changed my whole perspective on just how I see other people, because we're all going through something, and like you have to recognize that at the end of the day, we're all souls on this human journey, all trying to figure it out with our unique circumstances. And you have to have some radical level of acceptance for that, for that uniqueness. Yet at the same time, we're all following that same path, So yoga's really opened my mind to that perspective. And how has it changed that I live off the mat? I mean, it is how I live off the mat. It's a lifestyle choice. I'm really actually working on hashtagging like yoga is my lifestyle choice. But truly, like you just see the world differently. You see how interconnected the world is, even though everybody's on such a solo path. And just that sense of community and connection and, recognizing how my actions and my words and my thoughts impact others and impacts what I see and impacts what comes back to me, and what people end up coming to my circle, and what ones get pushed away. It just has changed my whole way of operating. Yeah. I definitely veer on the end of the anxious spectrum, and that, we're human. We all have flaws, and that's part of the beauty of being human. So I definitely veer on the anxious spectrum, and just like, I definitely have the tendency to be, thinking 1,000 steps ahead and like planning and all of that. But, that is definitely a strength of mine. I don't see that necessarily as a weakness. It's a strength of mine because I have learned to also recognize that you can't have attachment to anything that you plan, right? So just knowing that I can set goals, I can set intentions, I can help other people do the same. We can make plans, we can start a trajectory forward. But we have to do that being so grounded in what's happening now and so radically accepting in what's happening now. And like not being attached if that path gets completely obliterated. And I think in that sense, like it's helped me be more present, yes, but it's also helped me be more accepting of like what's in front of you. Where would you like to go? Like definitely like get everything you need in alignment on that trajectory, but also be so open. It's like that. And I think that's the present moment, right? It's like, can you hold the container of everything that's in front of you, but also be so open to everything that you can't see yet? Oh my gosh, what is your mission? I love this question because I give this question to, I give a very similar question to a lot of my clients, which is like, what is your thesis statement? I think it's really easy in our life to get lost. If we don't have the right tools and the right people and the right circumstances around us, like I think it's really easy to get lost. And so a lot of times I ask my clients, like, okay, like we're feeling a little lost, we're feeling a little chaotic right now, there's a lot going on. Like, let's pick one area of your life and tell me, like, what's your thesis statement? And then what can you do every single day that's going to align and support your thesis statement, right? It's just like writing a paper of your life. So my mission, is to see the best in people and help them to become the best versions of themselves. But I think that mission is ever changing because of the tools that I've garnered over time and that I continue to garner that help me follow that overarching like mission, right? Like, yes, I want to see people, I want them to be the best versions of themselves. But like me saying that 5 years ago versus now, like I have a whole different set of like skill sets that I can utilize to help people get there, So it's like that is my mission, but I would say it's like a little bit of an amoeba, you know? There's like a different way that I've like upheld that mission over the years. Yeah. But that's definitely it, I think, and really using the yogic system and yoga as a lifestyle to support that effort. Where does your desire to heal and uplift the people around you come from? I was always kind of the outlier. Um, you know, I did really well in school. I was top of my class. I got straight A's. I was, perfect little student. I was a dancer. I did all the clubs. I was the leader of everything. And yet, especially in my like school years, I was definitely the outlier. Like I was a little bit untouchable. And it was very lonely for a while. Like my late teens they were pretty lonely years, Like I did well. I had friends, I had support systems, but like at the end of the day, like I could have skipped high school. I would have been fine. you know? And I think in college I started to not feel like I needed to filter like what I wanted to do. Like I could have gone to a school and become a doctor or a lawyer, made a bunch of money. And it was just like, I just didn't follow that path. I didn't I didn't come out of high school like buying suits for interviews. I was like, I want to dance and I want to move my body and I want to, work in the arts. And it was kind of like, what? You're not going to get anywhere with that. And it's like, I don't care, you know? And like college, I went to a small college, very intimate setting. And I felt like that was the first time in my life where I really felt like, wow, like I feel empowered to actually like make this my life, and it will work. It was the first time I felt like, okay, you're going to take all this talent that you had like through all your school years, and now you're actually going to make it work and do something you want to do, not what society tells you should do. And I think too, like, most of my family, very traditional, like they got married, they had kids, they bought the house, whatever. And that was just never me. I was very solo for a very long time. I was not in a rush for anything. I had those moments where it's like, I have to meet this age and had this deadline, and I have to have like all the things in place for the perfect American dream by this time. And I just kept letting go of those things. All of that being said, when I started feeling supported in doing what I actually loved, I think that's when I really found my capacity to heal. It was in college that I got introduced to dance therapy, which I was just like, oh my God, like look how beautiful this is. Like what a process, it's like using movement to heal from the inside out. And like, I love to dance. Like what a great concept. I studied psychology in my college years. Like I was very curious about the mind and how it works. And so, it was really when I started being seen. And I would say, like, my college into my late 20s, like, those were my healing years, 100%. Those were absolutely my healing years. And so over time, going through that process myself, I feel like that's when it really sparked this idea, like, oh, like, I actually have capacity to pass all of this on, pass all this good faith in me onwards to other people and have faith in other people. And now, it's like anytime that I can see somebody and like tell them that they're seen, it's like it feels good and it feels good to them. And like, at the end of the day, especially as a talk therapist, I'm learning more and more, like, people just want to feel heard. you know they just want somebody to hear them and understand them. Like, the root of all conflict is lack of understanding. And so, like, just being able to be myself and like love seeing and hearing people and just like wanting to celebrate that, like, it just keeps me going, like, yeah, there's nothing better than that. I love that. Yeah. And like bearing witness to everybody's transformation, because we're all transforming all the time, right? And so, like, being able to witness that is like such a joy for me. It like I like enjoy like that witnessing that in people, even when it's hard, even when it's ugly. I love witnessing that, and I love holding space for it. So it just keeps me going. It just keeps me going. Oh my god, this is so fun. Okay. I have competed in some championships. Yes. What was that experience like? It's funny. So my partner Zeb is the international yoga champion. He's very humble about it, and he won't really readily tell you, but he's kind of a big deal. I never got that far, nor will I ever. When I was little, I did dance competitions all the time. You put the glitter on, put the hairspray on, like, do your thing, get your trophy. It's fun, right? The yoga competition, I was pushed into it fairly early into my practice. It was like 2000. I started practicing in 2008, and it was 2009 I did my first competition. So it was pretty early on. And it was mostly because, like, oh, you have a great practice, so you should do this thing. And I was like, okay, whatever. And, I had been on stage how many millions of times from, dancing for so many years. And there was a piece of me that I think was, as I was kind of transitioning out of more like dancing 12 hours a day to, maybe 5 hours a week. It's a big transition, right? And so at that time, I was really looking for something to fill that void, just like that constant movement maintenance void. And yoga did that for me for a while. And I think the competition and just like preparing yourself for something, because the dance world, like the most beautiful thing about the dance world is like how much preparation and care and detail and craftsmanship goes into like a 2-minute piece. Mm-hmm. And then you perform it and it's just gone. It's like, it's the most beautiful thing. It's also the most heartbreaking thing, because it's like you put so much into this like 2-minute segment, and then it's just poof, it's gone in like a weekend, right? And so I think the yoga competition had that similar appeal to me. It's just like you do all this work and all this training and all this prep, and then you do a 2-minute routine on stage, and then it's just like poof, gone, so you have that moment to capture. And it was interesting because dancing on stage, like, totally natural, like, I feel so easy and blissful and just like free on the stage when I'm dancing. You put me up on stage to do yoga postures, I'm like shaking like a leaf. It was so freaking hard for me. And I didn't understand why. I'm like, I'm used to be on stage. Like, this should not be hard. But for some reason, it was so intimidating to me. And not because I didn't like have the postures. I had the postures. I just, for whatever reason, the second I would get on stage, like all my focus and all my control just like went out the door. And I fought that for a few years. I competed like 3 or 4 years in a row. I got invited to the national level. I decided not to do it. And then I made another little appearance during the COVID years. I did it in, I think it was 2021. I got invited to nationals. I went to nationals. I did the routine. It was fine. I fell out of something and I was just like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. But I realized that, and it goes back to like what dance was for me versus what yoga was for me. Like the COVID period, especially, like we were all in our little, incubators, all marinating, and some of us exploded and some of us imploded, right? Because it was a time like you didn't have anything else to do except look at yourself, right? And it's a scary place sometimes. And I think because yoga really forced my attention inward instead of dance, which is like it let it all out, and it put it all outward. It was a very different stage experience for me. I didn't trust myself enough, and that's why the competitions were so hard for me. And I wouldn't say I would never do it again, but like I feel like that it taught me the lesson that it needed to, and I'm okay with that. But I'm glad that I did it. I'm very glad that I did it. And I know for Zeb, my partner, like those were some really powerful years for him, just like, working so freaking hard to get to the top of something. And then, I think his struggle was like, wow, okay, I achieved that thing. And it's like, now what? And so I think it had a different level of challenge for him in that way. So the competition experience is really interesting. I think it does different things for different people. The yogic path is so much about self-mastery. And I think the competition setting is really, it's more of how do we use yoga asana as a pathway to self-mastery, and there are so many different paths you can take. This is just one of them. But I think the precision and the focus and the intention and the coordination that is required to execute a few postures in a set amount of time with these flawless transitions between them, like that requires mastery on a whole different level. It's like so much body mastery. And I think for some, like that's truly how they pursue the yogic path, is like through mastery of the physical body. And I think that's beautiful, I think for me, like my mastery of the physical body very much came from it being an art form and not necessarily like the physical discipline. Like I always had the physical discipline, like it's been ingrained in me since I was a child, because I danced my whole life. I looked myself in the mirror for, well, now it's 39 years, right? So like that aspect of my life was always present. So I think for me, like the competitions, while I thought it was going to be the mode for me, it's definitely not. It's definitely like the movement as medicine has been my path. And I've found that over time. So yeah, but that's an interesting one. I haven't really thought about that in a while. I like it. Talk to me a defining moment in your life. Ooh, how did it shape who you are today? I think the universe is a beautiful, crafty entity. It's always orchestrating things. One moment, or I'd say like experience in my life that happened when I was very small. I was probably 8. I had a very powerful dream where I felt like I saw God. And, it was one of those things where, and I can describe to you, and I have drawn out and I have described it to many different people, but every little detail of what I saw. It was like it's like the dream you'll never forget, right? But it was one of those things where I woke up the next morning and, I go outside and my mom's sipping coffee on the deck. It's like, hi, mommy. I saw God and I didn't want to wake up. And it's like, oh my God. Like, what happened to you? And so like, calling our priest and like, checking to make sure that, I haven't been like overcome by demons or something. Right. But like that dream has followed me into so many other circumstances in my life. I remember a very distinct moment during COVID where, it was a peak time when things were just getting real heavy and real frustrating. And, everybody was just at that peak of just hating all the circumstances that were going on at that time. And I remember very distinctly, I was upstairs in one of our yoga studios, and I was just sitting there, and out of nowhere, I literally felt like my breath was taken away. Like, I can't describe this feeling. I literally felt like a hand had ripped my breath out of my body for a moment. And for whatever reason, I went immediately back to that dream that I had when I was 8 years old. And I was like, oh my God, I get it now. Like, I had this moment where I was like, literally, I just felt something pull me out of my physical body. I was like, I freaking get it now. I get why I'm here. I get what I'm supposed to do. And I get why I've been placed in this school with these people on this path. I get it now. And ever since that particular moment, and the dream had followed me. It followed me many times throughout my life, but I remember distinctly that moment. And ever since then, there have been pieces of that dream that have shown face, right? To just remind me, yes, this is your path and this is why you're here. And any time that I feel like I've had to divert from that path, it's like, nope, you remember that dream and you remember your why. Don't you veer off your path, And there have been many moments where I'm just like, no, God, I want to do my own thing. And they're like, no, this is what you're doing, right? So I would say that dream was probably the most defining moment in my life in terms of me understanding my why. Why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I on this path? Why have I been brought here? Why have I been put with these unique circumstances? Like, that dream was the why. And all over the years, I've learned more of the reasons why. And they've been validated, right? And so I will always go back to that. The biggest component of that dream is this giant tree and being lifted up into the heavens to basically make one with God, right? And that was it. And that tree image has popped up in and again, I'm getting chills as I say this, but when I've traveled and certain places I've been, or I'll have a similar dream and I'm just like, oh my God, there's the tree. It's just it's just so cool. When you have those synchronous moments, you're like, oh my God, it's still here. Okay, I'm still on the right path. It's those moments of validation, which I think is just, that's the universe at work. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my free will gets me to all these places, but then at the end of the day, it's just yeah. And you come back to the same path that we planned for you. It's so cool that way. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love this question. If your younger self was here with us right now, what would you say to her? Oh, sweet little Angelica. I've given the assignment to a couple clients of mine, write a letter to your future self or your past self, but I've never had anybody ask me that. So I love that. My younger self was so shy. My younger self was so, I hesitate to use the word scared, resistant. No, reticent. That's the word I want to use. Hesitant. My younger self was, I think, afraid of showing the deepest gifts that she had. I think my younger self covered up her flaws with achievements. And I think my youngest self was afraid to let those flaws be superpowers. And part of the language I use with a lot of my people that I work with is just yeah, you might be struggling with this one thing right now, or this one emotion right now, or this one pattern, or this one tendency right now. But like the fact that you have that, like, let's bounce that to the other end of the spectrum. Like that becomes your superpower. We just have to reframe it and rewrap it, and put it in a different package and see how we make that your superpower. And I think my younger self didn't realize how many superpowers she had, you know? So what I would say to little Angelica, who's pretty cute, by the way, would just be like, you're safe. You're safe to be just as you are. And no level of perfection is going to cover up the uniqueness that is you and the imperfect perfection that is you. And be willing to lay it all out on the table for people. Like no filter, right? No filter whatsoever. Yeah, because that little girl had was a pretty powerful container. And like this body has capacity for a lot, like I can take a lot and I can hold a lot. And I think the little version of myself was like afraid of that, aware of it, but really afraid of that, And now it's just like, yeah, like you're a powerful little thing. You're so powerful. You have so many superpowers, and you're gonna do so many great things for people. She was an amazing little girl. She was very smart. She was very smart. She was very curious. But yeah, I think she was afraid of the deeper layers that make her so powerful, and now it's like, now I'm here. I'm not scared of it anymore. So I'm just like picturing my little self. That's so cute. If your future self was here, what would she tell you to stop holding back? Yeah. I think my future self would actually tell me that it's okay for things to get really ugly and really messy and know that you're still put together. I'm very stubborn, but not in the sense that like I'm not willing to change my mind. It's just like if I commit to something, I am 1010% committed. Like I am single trajectory focused. Let's do it. Let's get it done, right? And I think there's still a piece of me that gets afraid if I commit 1010% and something's still off, because I don't commit to anything unless I feel 100% aligned with it. And so if I do that and something still feels off, then there's still that little bit of me that's like, okay, something's wrong, or something's not working. It's like, no, everything is working. Everything is 100% working in your favor. And there's still just like that little shred of fear of me that's just like, but what if it's not, I've gotten better with that. I've gotten a lot better with that over the years, but I think my future self would just be like, it's okay to let it fall apart. It's okay. It's okay to let it get super messy. It's okay to let it get into a really deep, dark hole. It's okay to let it hit rock bottom. It means there's nothing wrong with you, right? It gives you the ability to appreciate how blissful things can be on the other side of that, right? It's like, know that you can't know. And I tell this to people all the time, but I'm still learning it myself. But it's like, we can't understand pure joy unless we have felt deep grief and sadness and anger and all those things that are just like, ugh, like ick, right? Unless we have been to that end of the spectrum, we can't truly understand the opposite of that, right? So my future self would say, like, it's okay to go there because on the other end is pure bliss, pure bliss. And I've had readers and whatever tell me like, all these beautiful things for my future. And I absolutely believe in it. But I also think part of me is afraid to truly accept that and therefore accept what the other end would feel like. You know, it's just hard. Life is hard.
That's the human experience, right?
Life is hard. But yeah, it is. I mean, we're gifted every end of the spectrum of emotions, right? And it's because, and like that's like the gift of being human is like we get that whole range. We get all of that experience. But yeah, it's scary. It's scary to have all of that in front of you at any given time. What's the biggest lesson life is teaching you right now? Patience, 100%. Patience is not one of my strong suits. I'm an Aries. I'm super fiery. I'm, full-headed ram, just like charge in, no hesitation. And I'm very much like, do this now, get it done, move to the next thing. Patience and being able to sit and be still. And I'm learning to really enjoy rest. Like it's definitely a big lesson for me. But I can rest, but it's hard for me to be patient. And I think they're two different things. And I think a lot of people think that like I just don't know how to rest. Like I know how to rest. I can take time off and I can do that. But like patience with allowing things to get done in their own timeline and not like, a deadline all the time. And part of that, we manage 4 yoga schools and I do the bulk of the day-to-day just maintenance work. Like I'm on deadlines all the time. It's just like it's the lifestyle I chose and I'm fine with that. And I'm good at it. It's what makes me a good business person. It's just like I'm on top of stuff all the time. And so, but with that comes the consequence of recognizing that deadlines can be there, but at the same time, like something coming to completion may not have a set deadline or not a deadline that I want or that I think is needed. And so I think my biggest lesson right now is definitely patience and just allowing timelines for things to manifest as they're meant to and not feeling like I have to force something along when it's not ready yet. Like even the yoga schools right now, like we kind of exploded in 2025 and we took ownership of 2 schools in the same year, which like was totally not expected at all. And it was a lot. And, now this year we're kind of sitting just like, oh my God, this is a lot of people and a lot of community to manage at the same time. And it's just like, it's this little bit of constriction period. Like, okay, now we have to sit with all of that growth that we created. Now we have to sit with it. And it's like, and it takes time for these things to build and it takes time for the communities to form and it takes time to nourish and manifest the student body that is going to resonate with you and be there for life. And it's like having the patience for that process in this world where we are rewarded for hustle so freaking hard for me. So that is my biggest lesson, trusting everything is working out in the exact timing that I have no control over. And like, my parents have always said, it's always in God's time. And like 100%, I hear that, I know that, but it's like so hard for me to accept that. So just patience for God's time on everything. Yeah, definitely that. Definitely that. Now, people, I have so much patience for, sometimes to a fault. And I think that in a different sense is a different lesson for me. Like having patience and having space for people, but recognizing if they're not aligned with you right now, it's okay and we can let them go. And like, I love giving people the benefit of the doubt for as long as I possibly can. And sometimes it's too long, And so recognizing that I don't have to have unlimited patience. So there's still a balance there, So yeah, two-folded life lesson for sure. And what am I learning to love about myself? This question, I love this question. I love all these questions. I've learned to love different layers of myself in different ways over the years. I think right now, and I think this is like the biggest oxymoron of my life is like my whole life has been about movement. And like I was saying earlier, like I've been in front of a mirror since I was 5 years old, like looking myself in the mirror for the better part of 35 years now. And the hardest thing for me to love is my physical body. And I think I started hitting a turning point, and who knows if this is like, the premenopausal like epiphany that women get, right? I have no idea. But I think I started hitting a turning point around 35, 36, where I just noticed like my body was operating a little bit differently. And like I'm not recovering at the same rate I did when I was 18. And like, I can still do some pretty freaking awesome things with this body, but it's like not at the same rate that I could when I was like little petite 18-year-old dancer. It's just like not who I am anymore. And like finding this radical acceptance of just the evolution of my physical body and recognizing that like it can still be just as expressive and just as hold just as much energy as it did when I was little, but just in a different way that's like wiser and more seasoned and smarter. But I took a turn there. It was actually like close to the beginning of this year, I made the decision to start working with this holistic doctor, which my partner and another friend of ours had started working with a few months prior to that. And just this idea of just like, I'm at this point now where I'm curious about my body. I'm not looking to fix anything. Like I went through a many, many, many years where I felt like I had to fix my body. And I couldn't just embrace what I had. And now I like took a turning point not that long ago where I'm just like, now I'm just curious about it. Now I just want to understand it better. I want a better relationship with like why you operate the way you do. And so we're learning to love that, learning to love my body in any given moment has been a huge lesson for me. I'm not going to sugarcoat the stereotypical like, you know, and I've heard dancers say this and I hate to say it, but it's just like, you know, you haven't been a real dancer unless you've had an eating disorder, obviously, and like it's so awful to hear that. It's so freaking awful. And I wish that wasn't the stereotype, but it absolutely is. And we have to accept that is a very real image that we get. And it's not limited to the dance industry. There's plenty of other industries. The fitness industry, there's a lot of that too, right? The cosmetic industry, we're taught we have to fix something. We're taught we have to be stronger and better and more beautiful and more flawless. And, and it's at the same time, like this meat sack is all temporary. It's just an extension of what's deeper. But I think, I was an only child. I was very smart. I was very capable. My parents had, high expectations of me, and I always felt like I had to meet or exceed them. And so like that perfectionist undertone for me, and I'm not saying my parents were amazing, are still very amazing parents, and they've done nothing but support me along the way. But they were also both very smart, very intelligent, very ambitious people. And I think I felt like I needed to fill that and more so. And so that breeds the mindset of you always have to be better. It's never enough. And so it's like, okay. And then you get to the point where you realize you can't control everything in the world and you can't be perfect. And it's like, oh, why not? And so then you start working to control the one thing that is yours, which is this. which is this meat sack. And so many years I felt like I had to fix. And even when I was past like the deep dark years of that, like even up until a year or two ago, I still had a lot of that underneath. And so it's been a dream of mine for a long time to just like let go of that mentality. And I felt like I really took a turn earlier, very beginning of this year. I'm just like, now I'm just curious.
Aw.
Now I just want to get it. I just want to understand myself on a really like cellular level. And it's fascinating, like working with this holistic doctor and just like learning what things I'm sensitive to and like learning what patterns generally help me or don't, and just being more mindful of that. I'm like, oh, like if I do this for myself, I can make myself feel better. And like, that's cool. But it's not because I feel like something's wrong with how I operate. It's just because I'm like, oh, wow, like this can make me feel differently. Cool. If I want to use that tool, great. If I don't want to, I don't have to. And so just keeping a very open mind about it. And it's been a huge relief just getting to that point.
I'm sure.
For sure. For
I'm
sure.
happy for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah. But, so yeah, I'm really just I'm learning to love my physical body and like, wow, what a cool machine.
It does so much for you.
It does so many things. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And just like, even knowing like if I like do one thing or like drink water more at this time of the day and like this is what happens to it, it's just like, wow, like what a cool integrated system. And I think too, I also, beginning of this year, and this does not surprise me either. Actually, I never actually made this connection, but here we go. I knew it was going to come up, right? I started my certification in yoga therapy. And yoga therapy is all about using yoga and yoga tools, your breath work, your energy work, your chanting, your mantra, physical asana, obviously, like all of those lifestyle choices, Ayurveda, all the things. Using all these tools to serve the full integrated system that is you. And I think I've always, I've been a yoga teacher. I'm a therapist. I've been an energy worker. And like all of a sudden it had been on my mind for a while. Like I'm really curious about yoga therapy. And I had been planted the seed of dance therapy in college, right? And then I kind of put it away, really focused on the business stuff. But I've always been interested in psychology. I have a degree in psychology. And I think getting to a point where I'm like, oh, wow, this is why I was learning about all these pieces, because now they're together in this path towards yoga therapy. And I think in me pursuing that path, I also realized that I have to be so in tune with and loving of my integrated system so that I can be the most effective for others. And I think that's really starting that certification process. It's made me so fascinated with how everything works together. And I think that's really contributed to me loving myself on a whole different level. Yeah. So there it is. Highly recommend yoga therapy, by the way. How has it felt to be seen in this way today? Biggest takeaway and any final thoughts? I think we love to talk about ourselves. I think it's so fascinating that you give people the floor to and hold space for people to just talk about themselves, because we're all unique and I think we all have something beautiful to offer this world if we're given the opportunity. And so like, thank you for offering space. And I hope something that I've said today inspires somebody to improve or enhance or welcome in a new aspect of your life. Like that's obviously my whole mission. I talk about this with my clients sometimes, but I think there's a little bit of a weird conceptualization of validation. And I think some people view validation as so dangerous because it's like, well, if we're constantly chasing validation outside of ourselves, then, we're never going to be truly happy. And I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, I think validation, especially in a space like this where you can just be authentically you and share yourself, like it builds trust. And I think our world would be a much better place if we learned to trust ourselves. And I think part of being seen like this today is just being able to feel validated in my uniqueness, feeling validated in my authenticness, and it feels good. It feels good to be seen. So thank you for that. But yeah, like I really do. I think being seen is a way to validate and find a way to better trust yourself. And so I think it's as long as we're using that in for that reason and not to chase something outside of ourselves, we need to be seen. We need to be validated in that way. So that's definitely my biggest takeaway. I see you. I see you. I hear you. I hear you. It's like in the Avatar movie where like he's like, I see you, right? And it's like such a simple, I'm just so freaking powerful. It's so freaking powerful. Um, I think humans are so brilliant and fascinating. And I think there's something beautiful to be seen in every single person, no matter how, horrible they look like on the outside. Like we have to believe there's something beautiful and unique and a spark within every single soul on this planet. And I think yoga has taught me to see that, and yoga has taught me to always come back to that, knowing that like there's something beautiful in everybody. Um, and being able to hold on to that higher vision for, students, for my clients, for my family, for my colleagues, for our teachers, for my partner, all of that, like being able to hold that vision, like there is always going to be something so beautiful inside of you. Like it keeps me going, it keeps me uplifted. So I would say that's like my one big lesson that yoga has taught me, and just being in the yoga bubble has taught me. It's just like always hold on to that spark, just hold on to that little piece of the soul that is so blissfully perfect, right? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica.
I love that. Oh my gosh, what a cool process, Tally.